Good afternoon, guys. Hope you all are having an absolutely fantastic day, and welcome back to another video. If you have been watching my channel, or maybe you're new, I have been waiting for quite some time for a Darton Tritech 33 to come in. Now this is in the left-handed model. It is at 80 pounds, it is the 33 inch, and it finally came. If you want to see kind of the full overview and all the details of this bow, check out my last video. I'll link that right here, so click that link and that'll take you to that video. Today, I am going to be getting a sight tape dialed for my HHA Nitrix Pro. This is the sight I went with. Main reason is I have it on some of my other bows, or one of my other bows, and just really like it. I like the adjustability of it. I like, just kind of the ease of use and how well it really functions. So I'm gonna take this out. We're just gonna kind of go through it together, walk step by step on how I get my sight tape, and hopefully you can learn something along the way. So enough talking, let's go out and let's get this dialed. All right, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get your tape dialed to 20. Now, I really already have this dialed to 20, but I'm gonna walk you through it anyways. So if you can see there on the sight, there's a 0 there. You wanna dial that sight all the way down to 0, just so you get that baseline right there. If you don't dial it to 0, then you're not gonna be able to get the maximum amount of range out of your sight. So dial it to 0, and I guess just set it to where you think and take your best guess. But I'd recommend having a big target and a backstop for this, because otherwise you might lose some arrows. So let's give this a shot and see where we end up. Okay, as I expected, we're pretty much on, but I'm gonna go ahead and send 3, and I'm just gonna do 3 arrows basically every time I get the sight set correctly. 3 arrows just to get a good average and make sure I'm on for sure. Cool. We are a little bit to the left, so I'm going to adjust the sight to the left. Right there, we are on the money. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk back to 30 and do it all over again. All right, so I step back to 30. Now what I like to do is scroll that sight down to 5. Now if you have a faster bow, you maybe go less. If you have a slower bow, maybe go more. And in fact, because this bow is 80 pounds and does seem to be shooting pretty hot, I'm gonna go ahead and set that at 3 and see how close we are. Pretty close there. The way I do my sight tape, this really doesn't matter. But what it does is it keeps my arrow safe, right? If I just slowly back my way out to 60, 70, and 80, I'm making sure that I'm not gonna be sending arrows, flying over the target, which arrows are expensive and that's never fun. All right, those 2 are good. So we'll send 1 more and then we'll step back to 40. Not too shabby. All right, those look pretty much on. So let's go back to 40 yards. All right, so now we're back in 40. Now what I like to do is basically double the number that I'm on and then add 1. So I'm at 3 right now, so I'm gonna go to 6 and then 7. Now some guys might tell you there's a better way to do this. Probably is, but that's the way that I found is the most easy. So we've got it set at 7 now, and we'll send 1 down there. So we're a little low there, so remember you want to follow your arrow. So I'm gonna dial it down. I'm gonna go to 9. Working our way up, but not as quickly as I like. So let's go ahead and bring that all the way to, I don't know, let's say 14. Make sure when you're doing this, you're always looking at your sight the same direction, or you're gonna have a lot of variables, even if you think you're set at the same yardage. All right, so I went ahead and dialed down to 19, or 18 actually, just because those were a little bit lower. So let's send these down and see what we get. Those are pretty close. All right, I'm happy with that. So let's go back to 50. All right, so we're back at 50 now. So I'm going to adjust this sight. We'll go to 24. Okay, that was high. Whew, that's close. Not bad. I think we're decent, but I'm gonna go back down there and pull those and shoot 3 more and see what it looks like. Little low. This is also where your skill comes into play. That one was close. Now let's go ahead and back up to 60 and see where we're at there. All right, so we're back at 60. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm gonna stop at 60, but what I will tell you is that the further back you go, the more accurate and precise your sight tape's gonna be. So if you go back to all the way to 70, 80, 90, or 100, you're gonna have an even more accurate sight tape up to those distances. You know, it really comes into play at those long distances. But for today, we're gonna go to 60. I think that's what HHA recommends. I think that's what most sight manufacturers recommend. So we're at 60, and let's get this thing dialed. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So let's go back in the shop and let's get a tape on this bad boy. All right, so we're back in the shop and I've just taken the sight off. It just makes it easier for everybody. Now, what I will do now is, I'm not gonna worry about taking this off yet. I'll just take these tapes that came with the sight and I'll match up my sight tape to this. So my 20 was at 0. Like I said, that's very important. So make sure your 20 is at 0. And then I'm just gonna come in here and take that and match it up to the tape. Now there are some calculations you can do with this, right? But for me, I just like to match it up and it seems to work just fine. So match it up. And let's see. Oh, we went the wrong direction. That 33 right there lines up right with the 60 mark. So that is sight tape 33. So that is gonna be the one that I use. Now, to put this on, with the HHA sights, or the Pro at least, this is the easiest way I found to do it. So make sure you set this all the way to 0, so you got your 20 locked into place. Then I'm just gonna take out this screw here, if I can find the right size key. So I'm just gonna take this screw out, and that's gonna take, or let you slide the dial off completely. This just makes it easier to get a nice clean application, and you don't have to worry about you know, being crooked and stuff like that. Just make, or going underneath the pins. That's always a challenge. So peel this off, and now I'm gonna come over here and get that sight tape and just apply this nice and neatly to the dial here. Try to touch the sticky side as little as possible, just because you want a nice adhesion to that all the way around. Keep it straight. And there you go. Make sure it's all on there. And perfect. We have got our sight tape. So now I'm just going to come back in here. Since I know that that's already dialed to 20, I'm just going to line up the 20 mark with my first pin. Get that on there. Make sure you're looking at the same angle you look from your sight when it's on your bow. And now we'll just lock that down. And boom, just like that, we've got our sight tape set up. All right, so now I'm just gonna put this sight back on the bow, and we are ready to rock and roll. Do and always make sure that you've got that sight, you know, right where it should be, right in the same place, or you're gonna have to adjust ever so slightly, but if it's not exactly in the right place when you got this pick, you can always just move it up and down. But that looks good. So there you have it. That is how I adjust my sight tape and get a sight tape for a bow. If you like this video, make sure you drop a comment, leave me a like, and hit that subscribe button if you don't mind. Always dropping new videos, and I'd really appreciate you sticking around. If you have any questions, make sure to let me know. I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my abilities. Thank you for watching, as always, and I will see you all on the next video.